He's off, and he's not going to go very far down the road to Wigmore to his mate Mortimer. Now we'll come back to Mortimer later because he's a nasty piece of work.
But if you look at the cavalry that just come on the field, you've got in the middle there is the king looking somewhat sad and dejected and very much prisonerish.
Yeah, so you've got Simon de Montfort on the large grey with
increased Prince Edward's forces and decreased de Montfort's forces at the same time. So you may hear de Montfort.
A head-on clash of cavalry.
And I believe that's the king there with the three leopards on the shields.
It's certainly the king's livery.
Isn't it?
And Edward's in there in the thick of it. Actually, it can't be the king. The king's a prisoner.
I was just thinking.
I was about to say, it's the Prince of Wales, isn't it?
No, there is no Prince of Wales.
There's two lots of royal livery out there, definitely.
Edward's out there, definitely. I'm not sure. It must be one of the royal retainers in the Royal Arms.
Oh, just for a moment then, I got my hopes up. I thought maybe Henry, even though he's so heavily outnumbered.
Yeah, I can see Humphrey de Bohun there in the front with his white chevron across his blue shield.
And de Clare's leading on the left. De Leyburne's following up in the centre, and the division of Mortimer on the royalist right, waiting.
The Mortimers there with their black crows on a yellow background, and here go the right flank.
And over on the royalist left, the Baron de Vesey in the yellow and black, engaging with a mixture of de Clares, their banners, and their soldiers. The fighting basically comes down to a heaving and pushing match, because the top men are so well armoured it's almost impossible to kill them. They wear mail, and on top of that some of them wear a coat of plate, which is solid body armour, which is often hidden beneath their surcoats, depicting who they are. And you really don't want unnecessarily to try and kill one of these people. However, in this war, this was completely different, and all concepts of quarter had gone out by now. Yeah,
normally you'd take a knight or a noble prisoner and ransom them back to their families. You'd sell their armour and their horse, and a horse was worth a Lamborghini and his armour a mansion. It was very well. If you could capture a knight, you were wealthy for life, but not at Evesham. Edward gave them one order before the start: no quarter, no prisoners. They all die.
The chroniclers actually wrote about the Battle of Evesham. It was no battle, but a murder. The murder of Evesham.
And as you can see, the line is fully engaged now. De Clare's holding solid. De Leyburne's pushing forward slowly, and Mortimer's matching them. But De Leyburne's punching forward into the rebel army.
Yeah, the Royal Army are definitely making advances. But they can't fight at this intensity for long. They're wearing 67 of kit. They're wearing thick padding, which is now getting soaked in the rain, and it's getting very hot and very sticky and very tiring. And as you can see, the armies are withdrawing. Horse snout.
Well, that sounds
I said
exciting.
he'd try something drastic to try and break through.
And he's going to try and punch a hole straight through the royal lines, isn't he?
That's it. Pack every ounce of force of all those other soldiers onto the two men at the front.
Of course, if he's clever, he's going to put the king in there somewhere as well.
He may well be stuck in the middle of that lot. But all those men pushing together onto a very narrow point to try and burst through the royal lines. This is their bid to escape. If they can push through and punch through, they might just make it off this field.
And you can see the Royal Army, the front rank standing, the second rank bracing them, getting ready to push back. It's the only chance they have. Is in goes the boar snout, and the reinforcements pack in behind the centre of the Royal Army to give it some weight to hold that boar snout, which if the weight's not there, it'll merely punch through into the empty space beyond and allow some of the Royal Army the rebel army to escape. And you'll notice in the background, at the back there, with two of Mortimer's own retainers, carrying red shields with white lines on them, is the King Henry. He's been placed in a position of danger We don't know if this was deliberate or accidental, but there he is on the field, within range of stray arrows or crossbow bolts, and close enough to the fighting where he could possibly be accidentally, in inverted commas, killed.
I'm sure De Montfort wouldn't necessarily want Henry killed, but I don't think he'd lose that much sleep over it if he was.
What was interesting there also is you saw the mobility and the speed with which the units deployed on the royal side. They are very, very much under the control of their unit commanders.
The discipline on the royal side's been fantastic. Oh, the rebels are falling back. The boar snouts failed. They're pushing them back.
You can see various rebels there now, realising that it's failed, as Ian says, and slowly but surely trying to engage whilst facing the enemy.
Yeah, they're spreading out. They've lost all impetus. The boar snout has completely failed.
And you can see the spears going down in the centre, and on the left flank.
Was that De Montfort's one chance to break out? We will soon find out. The right flank advance.
They're going to wrap them up, aren't they, like a carpet?
It does look that way.
That was the plan. The centre holds, the left envelops, and the right closes the door.
Oh, they've stopped. They're letting them reform. They're falling back.
De Clares are falling back, forming a line. De Leyburns and Mortimers who are sent to reinforce
Against the man in front of him.
And it makes an impact. It smashes
through.
But they hit the second wall and stopped.
Stopped by the second.
And there you can see De Clares in the red and yellow swinging round onto them. The disarray in the rebel centre is clear.
And here goes the right flank. They're going to close round behind them.
And just swing closed.
Some of De Montfort's men have broken through. You can see the red shields with the white line. I don't know how they've managed it, but they're through. But rather than try and escape the field, there's... Oh.
No, they're in disarray. De Montfort's men are being picked off.
And you can see creeping around the side of the army is the rescue party that dispatched De Montfort's retainers. They've got the king back, ladies and gentlemen.
And where's Mortimer? He's off to one side. He's looking for De Montfort.
There's the king.
Here's the
right
king.
in front of you.
The king and his bodyguard. And there's De Montfort.
Inside his own men. His men sworn to fight and die for him. And that was one of De Montfort's sons, I'm not sure, cousins, I'm not sure which one, who's just been killed there by the man holding the red and black shield. Butchered on the floor. That's another one of De Montfort's killed.
And Mortimers are cutting De Montfort's small retinue to pieces.
And you can see the old Simon in the middle there with his extra height, fighting valiantly, but it's going to be a doomed fight.
De Montfort's fighting like a man possessed. Is there any stopping him?
But it's lost. He cannot survive this. It's impossible. He has foes all around him. Whichever way he turns, he will fight and fight and fight, and there will still be more. The king being guarded now by his rescuers off to one side, is watching as De Montfort is attacked and brought down.
They have De Montfort, they're taking him across the fields. They are going to humiliate him. What are they going to do?
Well, what are they going to do? De Montfort comes off this field in lots of separate pieces. Mortimer sends his head back to Wigmore, to Mortimer's wife, as a table decoration.
With something very unpleasant in its mouth, from what I gather.
Well, yes. They removed a part of his anatomy first and put it in his mouth before they cut off his head.
While Mortimer is dealing with De Montfort, the rest of De Montfort's army.
And here's Prince Edward, the victor of Evesham, coming towards his father. God save the king! God save the king!
You're playing to an Evesham crowd. You're not going to get much.
If anything.
This is your king. De Montfort's dead. You better support him.
And the king and the prince embrace.
Long live Prince Edward! For God and the King!
And the cry goes up, Deus vult, God wills it. And today God certainly has willed it.
And whilst the prince did decree that there would be no quarter for the rebel barons, a number of them were actually captured and ransomed.